The Light After Darkness. A childhood of struggle. Rami was born into poverty. His family was small: his father, his mother, his little sister, and him. His father, once a skilled craftsman, had lost everything when the economy collapsed. They moved from one run-down neighborhood to another, searching for shelter they could afford. Sometimes they lived in unfinished buildings, sometimes in a single room with no electricity. His mother held the family together. Even in hunger, even in darkness, she found a way to bring warmth to their home. Rami grew up dreaming of a better life, not riches, but a life where his family wouldn't suffer anymore. But war came, and with it, everything changed.
The war that stole everything. One night, the bombs fell. Their home crumbled. Fire and smoke filled the air, and in the chaos, his mother was trapped. By the time they pulled her from the rubble, it was too late. Her death broke something in Rami's father. The man who once carried his family through poverty now carried only grief. Rami's heart ached with a sorrow far beyond his years. He was too young to fully understand the weight of his grief, yet the emptiness pressed on him relentlessly. His mother had been his guiding light in a world that often felt cold and unkind, the one person who believed in him, who saw the spark of something extraordinary within him. To the world, he had to fight, to prove his worth, to show that he was capable. But to his mother, he was always enough. To her, he had always been a light, and the thought of losing that warmth left him hollow with despair. Rami knew he had to leave. If he could reach safety, he could send help back. He promised his father and sister that he would return. Captured and broken. On his way out of the country, he was captured by gunmen. They accused him of being a spy and threw him into a dark cell. He spent years in captivity, starved, beaten, forgotten. His dreams faded, his personality hardened. When he finally escaped during a battle, he was not the same boy who had left his family. The first prison abroad. Crossing into another country, he thought he was free, but instead he was arrested. For a month, he was held in an overcrowded detention center with hundreds of refugees. There was one toilet for 800 people. The air stank of sickness. Food was scarce. Every night, Rami lay awake, wondering if this was the end. When they finally released him, he was weaker, but his will to survive burned stronger. The harsh truth. In the third country. In the next country, Rami realized a painful truth. The poor like him suffered endlessly in camps, but the rich, they never stayed long. They paid bribes, bought papers, crossed borders with ease. That was the moment he understood. Wealth was power. It wasn't courage or strength that determined survival. It was money. Desperate, he joined a gang. He earned cash through unsavory means, feeding himself but poisoning his conscience. One night, he looked at himself in a cracked mirror and saw only a stranger. That was the night he walked away. The smugglers and the endless run. He used his last money to pay smugglers. Packed into a truck with dozens of others, he could barely breathe. Hours later, the truck screeched to a stop. "The police are here! Run!" Chaos. Rami ran with the others, lungs on fire, legs burning. He ran through slums for 2 hours, blending into the poor neighborhoods. Because he was one of them, he survived again. The first attempt across the sea. He reached the coast and boarded a flimsy boat with far too many people. In the middle of winter, the sea was merciless. A giant wave struck, capsizing them. Rami plunged into the freezing water. He clung to wreckage, shivering as survivors huddled together. In desperation, they burned a life jacket just to feel heat. Many died, but he lived to see another shore. The second attempt, the storm. He tried again. This time the boat made it further, but a storm hit. Waves towered over them, winds howled, rain cut into their skin. The boat rocked, seconds away from capsizing. All Rami could do was pray. All night he clutched the boat, begging God to let him live. Then morning came. The storm faded, and in the distance land appeared, an island. The refugee camp. But arrival did not mean freedom. The borders to Europe were closed. He was taken into a refugee camp on the island where he lived in a tent for a year. The camp was filthy. Fungus ate away at his limbs. He swallowed antibiotics that ruined his stomach. The air smelled of rot and sewage. It was survival, but barely. To escape despair, Rami began helping. He spoke some English, so the Greek army used him as a translator when distributing food or when refugees spoke to doctors. He worked every day, slowly improving his language, building bridges between soldiers and refugees. A teacher's ear. Volunteers often came, and Rami shared his story with them. One day, a university teacher was listening. "You must tell this story to more people," the teacher said. Weeks later, Rami stood in front of students at a Greek university. Nervous at first, his voice trembling, he began to speak. Soon, the hall fell silent. Every ear was on him. He told them about poverty, about losing his mother and his friends, about the prisons, the sea, the camps, the survival. He told them about hope. When he finished, the hall erupted in applause. Students surrounded him, thanking him, some with tears in their eyes. "You must write a book," one of them said. "The world needs to hear this." Relocation and the New Dawn. Months later, the United Nations decided to relocate refugees. Rami was sent to a country in Europe. There, he began to rebuild, not just his life, but himself. He carried scars, yes, but he also carried a story, and that story became his greatest weapon, his greatest gift. The true meaning of greatness. Rami's greatness did not come from wealth or fame. It came from resilience, from rising again and again, no matter how many times the world tried to break him. He survived poverty. He survived war. He survived prisons, storms, and despair. And in the end, he turned his suffering into strength, his silence into a voice, his journey into an inspiration. And this story you hear is just the beginning of his story.